Hey guys, welcome to my channel Learning Made Easy Peasy. Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Today in this class, we are going to learn the complete civics of 7th Standard Part 2 textbook, that is the Karnataka State Government published textbook, and this video is related to only competitives. So let's begin. The first lesson in this textbook is our defense forces, which is really important. India has 15,200 kilometers of land border and 7,516.5 kilometers of sea border. Both these numbers are extremely important. Please learn them. See, we have 15,200 kilometers of land border and 7,516.5 kilometers of sea border. This is important. Over 40% of the total annual budget is reserved for the defense forces. The supreme power of the defense forces rests with the President of India. Again, this is important. No matter which wing of defense force it is headed by the President of India. The three divisions, or you can also say the three wings of defense forces are Army, Navy, and Air Force. This is Army, Navy, and Air Force. They are really important. Training centers. Well, we have several training centers. Only few are mentioned in your textbook. Whatever is mentioned in your textbook is added in this PPT. The training centers that are mentioned are National Defense College, Defense Service Training Center, IMA, Dehradun, NDA, Khadakwasla, Pune in Maharashtra. Let us first understand the Indian Army. When we talk about the Indian Army is the second largest army in the world. This number over here is important. It is the second largest army in the world. Then, Indian Land Army emblem. Can you see this picture over here? Well, this is the emblem of the Indian Army. Please look at the picture very carefully whenever you are learning or reading about the emblems. Make sure that you zoom in the picture and read everything that is written on it, because often it has been seen that in the competitive exams they ask you the questions as to what is written on the emblem of Indian Army, Indian Navy, then Indian Air Force, or what is their slogan, what is their motto, etc, etc. So please zoom into the picture and read if something is written on it, and do remember the shape of this emblem. Moving ahead, the service chief of the Indian Army is General. Again, this is important. Please remember this. The head office or headquarters of the Indian Army is at New Delhi. Well, this is something that is common to all the wings of the defense forces. However, if it is different, then I will let you know. Moving ahead, the second wing is the Indian Navy. Indian Navy is the sixth largest navy in the world. Well, this is important. It is the sixth largest navy in the world. The service chief of the Indian Navy is Admiral. Again, this is very important. The service chief is Admiral. The headquarters or the head office of the Indian Navy is again at New Delhi. The Indian Navy emblem. Can you see this picture over here? Please zoom in and do read as to what is written over here. And once you read it, comment below. Let me know the thing that is written over here in the comment boxes. The naval base of the Indian Navy is situated in Karwar. Karwar in Karnataka, which is known as the seabird. This is also important. It was asked several times in several competitive exams. So the naval base of the Indian Navy that is situated in Karwar is also known as the seabird. Finally, the third wing of defense is the Indian Air Force. Now let us understand about the Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force emblem. Can you see this picture over here? This is the emblem of the Indian Air Force. Please zoom in and read as to what is written on this emblem and comment below. Let me know what is written on this emblem in the comment boxes. Moving ahead, Indian Air Force is the fifth largest in the world. Again, this number is really important. Please remember, Indian Air Force is the fifth largest air force in the world. The service chief of the Indian Air Force is Air Chief Marshal. Again, this is important. The headquarters or the head office of the Indian Air Force is at New Delhi. Again, the same thing. 5 commanding stations. Well, very limited information is given in your textbook related to the commanding stations. When we talk about the commanding stations of Indian Air Force, which is also called as IAF, there are in total 7 commanding stations, in which 5 are operational stations and the 2 are functional stations. So these 5 commanding stations that it explicitly talks about is nothing but the operational stations. Moving ahead, the station which is located in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Dundigal, Tamil Nadu. Well, I don't know why they have included this Tamil Nadu in the bracket. However, let me tell you the story of this station in Bengaluru. The commanding station which is located in Bengaluru is basically a training station. What it is? It's a training station. So this training station which is located in Bengaluru is included in these 2 functional stations. The station, the training station, or you can say the functional station which is actually opened in Bengaluru or actually functions in Bengaluru, also uses the Dundigal Hyderabad station. For what? For some, test flights or some other tests, etc., etc. That's all. I hope you have understood this. Moving ahead, now we have something called as operational defense forces. This is also important. Let us see what all forces we can see in this operational defense forces. The first force that we have in this is the Border Security Forces, which is also called as BSF. Well, these abbreviations are very, very important. Always remember the abbreviations BSF, because in the competitive exams, certain times they ask you this abbreviation and they ask you to write the full form of this abbreviation. So they will give you a question like BSF. What is the full form of BSF? And you have to remember that BSF means Border Security Forces. Well, it is very easy. What is the slogan of this BSF, Border Security Forces? It is duty until death. One more thing that I have to add over here is whenever you are reading about the defense forces and the wings of the defense forces and all these, kinds of forces, you have to always remember and read about their slogans, mottos, vision, mission, etc., etc. Why? Because many direct questions can appear on this. So the slogan of BSF, that is the Border Security Forces, is nothing but duty until death. So this is really, really important. Please remember this. The second force we can see in this is Border Roads Organization, again BRO. BRO. This is the abbreviation. BRO stands for Border Roads Organization. Again, important. Can you see this picture over here? This is the picture of BSF. Can you see these people? The army men who are securing our borders and protect our country from any kind of external aggression. Can you see this picture over here? This is the picture showing you some members of BRO. there is a board over here on which it is written very clearly. Border Roads Organization. These people take care of the roads which are connected to the borders. Why? Because if any time the wars break out, we shouldn't have any problems on the roads. The third kind that we have in this is the coastal guards. Again, important. Well, the Coastal Guards is a paramilitary force. What do you mean by paramilitary force? Please read about it and comment below your answers. The head office of the Coastal Guards is again in New Delhi. Then the fourth one and the final one in the Operational Defense Forces is the Central Industrial Security Force, that is CISF. Again, an abbreviation over here. CISF stands for Central Industrial Security Force. This is important. We have the biggest industrial security force in the world. This is also important. Remember this. Which force is the biggest force in the world? It is CISF. Central Industrial Security Force is the biggest industrial security force in the world. Can you see this picture over here? This is the picture of the Coastal Guards. And can you see the picture over here? This is the picture of CISF. I hope this is clear. Moving ahead, now let us see the Assistant Defense Forces. Assistant Defense Forces. So this is completely different kind of forces that we have in India. In this, the first one is the National Cadet Corps, NCC. Again, an abbreviation over here. NCC stands for National Cadet Corps. This is important. The main aim of NCC, National Cadet Corps, is to infuse the responsibility of national security among the youth. The slogan of NCC is discipline and unity. This is again important. Please remember the slogan of NCC. It is discipline and unity. Can you see this picture over here? This is the picture showing you the students who have taken part into NCC March Past. Moving ahead. The second one in this is the Home Guards. Please do not confuse Home Guards with the civil police forces. Even though they look very similar, their uniforms look similar, but they are very different. Home Guards is the second one. Third one is the civil police forces. This is also very important. In the civil police forces, the thing that you have to remember is the jurisdiction is confined to the state only. What do you mean by this? Suppose if you are a civil police force of Karnataka, so you will be called as Karnataka State Police. When you are Karnataka State Police, your duties, your powers, your jurisdiction, your work, everything is confined only to the land of Karnataka. That means you won't be having any powers, or your duty is not to look after the matters of the lands of Maharashtra or the crimes that have taken place in Maharashtra or Gujarat or Goa or Tamil Nadu or any other state. So if you are a Karnataka State Police, then your jurisdiction is confined only to the land of Karnataka, only to Karnataka. That's it. I hope you have understood this. Finally, the fourth one that we have in this is the Indian Red Cross Society. At present, in India, 700 districts. In 700 districts, we have this Indian Red Cross Society and its members and its functions. The chairman of the Indian Red Cross Society is the President of India. This is extremely important. Please remember this. The chairman of the Indian Red Cross Society is directly the President of India. It's in the direct hands of the President of India. The main aim of Indian Red Cross Society is humanity and voluntary service. Again, this is important and to be remembered. Humanity and voluntary service. Can you see this picture over here? This is a picture of Home Guards. And can you see this picture over here? This is the picture of female women civil police forces. Just look at them, their dress code, their functions, their march fast, their everything. Most of the things look very similar, but they are very, very different. Please read about them and let me know as to what are the main differences between the Home Guards and the civil police forces in the comment boxes. Can you see this picture over here? This picture is the emblem, or you can say the logo of the Indian Red Cross Society. Please zoom in and read as to what is written on this. And this picture over here shows you some voluntary works that were done by the Indian Red Cross Society. Moving ahead, then we have the National Security Group, that is NSG. Again, an abbreviation over here, NSG. NSG stands for National Security Group. So NSG provides security to VIPs. What do you mean by VIPs? VIPs means very important persons. So who are these very important persons? Very important persons are the ministers. Basically the president, the prime minister, governor, chief minister, etc., etc. You can also have certain state or cabinet ministers included in this. Sometimes they can also be, the VIPs can be the actors or the religious heads. And sometimes, rarely the people who have created any controversy can also be included in this section of VIPs. So this group, that is NSG, National Security Group, provides security to these kind of VIPs. They also suppress terrorism and provide internal security. Bomb diffusion group is complementary to the NSG. Can you see this picture over here? This is the picture of NSG, that is National Security Group. So the very tough people, the Black Cat Commandos and the very, tough, what you can say, commandos are included in these NSG group. National Security Group. So with the picture itself, you can make out as to what it is and what might be their powers, their training, etc., etc. Finally, here I have written the 9 high rank officers in the army. Well, this is the hierarchy of the rank officers in the Indian Army. In the next slide, can you see this slide? I have added this. These are the hierarchies that you find, the hierarchies of the rank of the officers, or you can say the ranks right from the lowest to the highest of all the 3 wings of defense, that is Indian Army, Indian Navy, and Indian Air Force. Let us see this because this is very important from the point of view of your competitive exams. First, let us see the hierarchy of the Indian Army. In the Indian Army, at the lowest rank, you have lieutenant. At the lowest position, we have lieutenant. Then we have the captain, then major, then lieutenant colonel, then brigadier, then major general, then lieutenant general, and finally at the highest position we have general. I hope this is clear. In the Indian Navy, the hierarchy is as follows. In the lowest position, that is at the lowest position, we have the sub-lieutenant. Then we have the lieutenant, then lieutenant commander, then captain, then commodore, then rear admiral, then vice admiral, and finally at the highest position we have the admiral. I hope this is clear. Finally, in the Indian Air Force, we have, at the lowest position we have the flying officer. We have flying officer at the lowest position, then comes the flight lieutenant, then squadron leader, then wing commander, then group captain, then air commodore, then air vice marshal, then air marshal, and finally at the highest position we have the air chief marshal. Please learn this hierarchy of every wing of the defense forces. This is really important. Why? Because often in your competitive exams they ask several questions based on this hierarchy or the rank of the officers. Like for example, they may ask you as to which is or what is the fifth rank of the Indian Army called as? And they will give you options like brigadier, colonel, lieutenant colonel, and major, which is already confusing. So it is important for you to learn the hierarchy right from the lowest position to the highest position. Sometimes they ask you some really easy questions as well, which are very straight. Like for example, please tell us or which is the lowest rank officer in the Indian Air Force or the highest rank officer in the Indian Navy. And that will be really easy to say only when you have gone through this hierarchy and learned about it or learned and memorized it. So please learn this. I am giving 3 to 4 stars to this part in order to make you understand as to how important this is. So learn the hierarchy, learn the ranks, and practice this as much as possible. So with this, here we have completed the first lesson of your 7th standard part 2 textbook. The second lesson in this textbook is constitutional amendment. If the amendment to the constitution is easy, then it is called as the flexible constitution. Whereas if the amendment to the constitution is difficult, then it is called as the rigid constitution. Then what is the Indian constitution called as? Will be your question. The Indian constitution is the blend of both. How and why? Because in India, there are certain laws which can be changed very easily. That is why it is a flexible constitution. On the other hand, there are certain laws in the Constitution of India which cannot be changed very easily or can't be changed at all or altered at all. That is why it is also a rigid constitution. So Indian constitution is both flexible as well as rigid. Moving ahead, here we have the 3 ways or the processes according to which the laws of the Indian constitution can be changed or altered. The first one is simple majority. In the simple majority, we just need the approval of half of the total members of the parliament. And if we get this, we can change those laws. This is simple majority. Then we have the special majority. In the special majority, 2/3 members of the parliament should accept that change. Only then we will be able to alter that particular law of the Constitution of India. Finally, we have the special majority along with the consent of the states. So here in this, the special majority along with the consent of the states, in this you should have the consent of 2/3 members of the parliament. Along with that, the consent of half of the states of India is required. That is, at present we have 28 states. So of 28 states, at least 14 states should give consent to that particular change that we are talking about. Only then you will be able to change that particular law. I hope this is clear. Here I have added a picture which talks about the 10 important constitutional amendments. Amendments right from 1951 to the very recent 2016. So I felt that this is really important thing for you to know. So if you are interested, please just go through this, read it once so that you get some good knowledge. And this is actually important. So I think you must read this once. Finally, we have to understand the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. Well, when I was talking about the flexibility or the rigidity of the Indian Constitution, I did tell you that there are certain laws in the Indian Constitution which can be changed with a lot of difficulty or cannot be changed at all. So, which are these laws that cannot be changed at all? It is the basic structure of the Constitution. The laws which are actually the basic structure of the Constitution of India cannot be changed at all. Now, this term of basic structure first came into light through this case. That is the Keshav Nanda Bharti versus the state of Kerala case. So this case laid the foundation of the basic structure. And what happened in this case? A ruling was given by the Supreme Court that the basic structure of the Constitution could not be abrogated, changed, altered, affected even by a constitutional amendment. So this was a historical ruling that was given by the Supreme Court of India, which is also considered as the watchdog or the protector of the Indian Constitution. Now, what is this basic structure? This basic structure refers to the certain fundamental features or principles of the Indian Constitution which cannot be altered, destroyed by any amendments made by the Parliament. Well, let us try to understand this thing with the help of an example. Suppose you are constructing a building. Okay, we will take a 3-storied building over here. What all you will do to construct this building? First thing that you will do is you have to build a strong foundation. Alright. Once you built this strong foundation, with the help of this foundation, you will try to raise some pillars so that it supports the weight or this complete building to stand erect. Fine. Now, when we talk about the flexibility of the Indian Constitution, what all can you change? You can change the interior design of this whole building. Okay, suppose you want to change certain structures as to how this building looks. So you can change the first floor, second floor, the ground floor, okay, everything. But when it comes to the rigidity of the Indian Constitution, you cannot change or alter the pillars. You cannot change, alter, remove or affect the foundation in any way. So this foundation and these pillars, they are the basic structure. The building over here stands for the Constitution of India. The pillars and the foundation over here stands for the basic structure. Whereas the interior design or whatever the things are added in this floors are all the other things that are there, the other laws that are there. So I hope at least now you have understood as to what do we mean by this basic structure of the Constitution and why it is important to protect the basic structure of the Constitution. Suppose if you remove or alter or somehow destroy these pillars and this foundation as well, then what will happen? The whole building will collapse to the ground. The whole building will diminish, isn't it? That is why children or students or guys, it is extremely important for us to protect the pillars and the foundation of the Constitution of India. Alright, I hope you have understood this. With this, we have completed the second lesson or the final lesson of this textbook. Here we are done with the complete civics part of the 7th standard part 2 textbook of the Karnataka state government published textbook. I hope you have enjoyed this class. Thank you for watching. Please do like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Thank you.